Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I just got back over the border, and right after the guys over at the booth asked us what was the total value of goods of things that you purchased, and after we said our number and we crossed, I looked up on my phone because I got my data back, and I opened up Twitter, and it turns out that me opening up Twitter was a few minutes removed from this youthful exchange of NHL players. The Chicago Blackhawks have traded center Nick Schmaltz over to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for center Dylan Strome and winger Brendan Perlini. Now, if this trade was done in the year 2015, if this trade was done 3 years ago to this day, this would be an absolute steal for the Chicago Blackhawks, because, oh my gosh, Dylan Strome was 3rd overall in the 2015 draft, Perlini was 12th overall in the 2014 draft, and Schmaltz, this guy was 20th overall in the 2014 draft? Why would you do this? This is a bad trade for the Arizona Coyotes because they're giving up 2 guys who are young for a guy who's young. That's the perspective of things 3 years ago. But today, I looked up on Twitter and I saw so many reactions going either way. I saw a ton of people saying this is an absolute steal for Chicago. I saw a ton of people saying this is an absolute steal for Arizona. And I saw a ton of people saying that this is very even. This is one of those deals that nobody can really seem to get a full grasp on, because trades in the past that we've seen over these past few months, Pacioretty, that trade, that was a pretty good trade for both sides, at least at the time. Pacioretty's starting to get on the board a little bit more now, but hey, that Karlsson trade for Erik Karlsson to the San Jose Sharks, that was agreed upon by everybody as a bad trade for Ottawa. But this trade? This is one of those where everybody's kind of on the fence a little bit, and the overall consensus is not there. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about this in a way that talks about the now and the future, and the different outcomes of the future. Because if we take a look at things in the now, right away, Arizona improves their team. They got rid of 2 players for 1, but this 1 player is better than the center that they had beforehand. Schmaltz is coming over to an Arizona team that is deprived of a ton of scoring. Now, don't get me wrong, the Coyotes aren't terrible this year, but their leading point guy, Clayton Keller, is like last in NHL team point leaders. I saw that stat on the Canucks game yesterday, but overall, the Arizona Coyotes are in a position where they have a lot of youthful talent. We all know about this. Chychrun, Strome, Perlini, Merkley, all of their young guys that they have in their system, well, 2 of them not anymore, they've had this whole foundation of youth upon them, with Clayton Keller and Ekman Larsson, and their older guys that they got coming back like Stepan and Grabner. Galchenyuk was a guy they acquired as well. So this is a team that's still trying to make moves on the fly here, and what they did by giving up Strome and Perlini for Nick Schmaltz is literally one-up the guy on their center core. And then as for the winger to fill in that spot that Brendan Perlini left, they got themselves a few options down in the farm team like Connor Garland and all that, but they also have a lot of guys who are currently injured. Included in that list, center Christian Dvorak, Nick Merkley, you also got yourself Jacob Chychrun on the back end, but overall, the Coyotes are in a position where they actually improve their team. Now, as for the Chicago Blackhawks side of things, they decreased the overall skill level of their team with this trade. Schmaltz is the best player out of the 3 players. That is guaranteed. Nick Schmaltz is coming off of a 50-point season with the Blackhawks, and overall, he's just been a better player over the past few years than Strome and Perlini. So, the fact is, they decreased the talent of the team now. But Strome is still a guy who got 75 points in 35 games in his draft plus 2 year in the OHL. He is still in a position where you could say he has a lot of potential. Now, Strome is 21 years old, and he has played in the NHL this season for the first time, full-time actually, and he got 6 points in 19 games. a lot of people would label that as a bust, and that's very fair. But at the same time, the other part of this trade, Brendan Perlini, is a guy who has gone through a lot so far in his NHL career too. Perlini was drafted 12th. He was really highly touted going into his draft year with a lot of really good stat lines for the Niagara Ice Dogs in the OHL. Now, he's played 2 NHL seasons. One of them was full, one of them was not so much. And overall, he's up there at 50 total NHL points. He's certainly not necessarily in that position where somebody looking at him now would be like, yup, that's the player we drafted him to be, because a lot of people complain about his speed. His skating is not necessarily where it needs to be to produce at the same OHL level in the NHL. But there's a silver lining in all this, because Brendan Perlini is 22 years old, Dylan Strome is 21, and Nick Schmaltz is 22. Nick Schmaltz is the better player today because he automatically has already established himself as an NHL talent. He went through the college systems, played with the CBS line. That was an amazing line with Brock Besser and Drake Caggiula. These 3 were amazing, and Schmaltz went out into the NHL next season and he tore things up as a rookie. Now, he's already established himself as an NHLer. Strome and Perlini have not necessarily been at the levels that they were projected to be, but they have kind of established themselves as NHL talents. But they are still young. Schmaltz is still young too. This is a gamble on both ends, but at the moment, Arizona improves their team right now, Chicago gets themselves a little bit of a kick towards the whole concept of luck with this trade, because if things play out and Strome and Perlini live up to the potentials that they had in their draft years, Chicago wins this trade easy. Doesn't matter how good Schmaltz becomes. But if things kind of trend up in the way that they kind of have already been, and Perlini kind of stabilizes at 30-ish, 40-ish points, Strome kind of gets in the same range as well, it's kind of a gray area. And at that point, I think the Arizona Coyotes are like, yep, we already got a really good center to also be on our power play alongside of Clayton Keller, Galchenyuk. We got a great team now. I think the Arizona Coyotes are going to be fine with this. Like, they're missing out on Perlini and Strome in exchange for Schmaltz. Schmaltz is good, guys. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter undervaluing Schmaltz and saying that this is a clear win for Strome and Perlini because, oh, that DeBRINCAT connection, which I actually kind of wanted to talk a little bit about too. A lot of people have been talking about Strome as this terrible bust of a player, which I don't think he is. Like, he's got 6 points in 19 games as a 21-year-old. That's not bad. Of course, it's not the same, like, a point every 2 or 3 games pace that he had in the OHL, but his skating has been something that people have said that he's needed to work on, and he has kind of worked on it a little bit, which is why he's in the NHL now. And his whole trend with Arizona was not strong for him, and it wasn't good, let's just say. It wasn't something that a lot of people would look at and be like, yep, that was beneficial to him. So a change of scenery is what he needed here, and he's got that with Chicago. A winning environment, a team that knows how to win, guys who know how to win, and with his teammate who's been doing really, really well so far in Alex DeBRINCAT when he was playing with the Erie Otters. DeBrincat's been lighting up the NHL, one of the best offensive players on that team, alongside of like Patrick Kane and all that. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this goes forward. Do they immediately try to put back Strome and DeBRINCAT on the same line? I feel that's very predictable, but I would very much be accepting of that, because I want to see that. That was really cool when it happened in the OHL, and it was amazing. But now, things are different. As for Nick Schmaltz, he's coming into an Arizona team that very much needs more scoring. He can provide that. There's more of a guarantee for Schmaltz to get a whole bunch of points than there is with Perlini and Strome. So that's basically it. I think this is not a bad trade for either side. There's a whole bunch of risks involved with the Chicago Blackhawks' point of view. But the way things stand today, the Arizona Coyotes win this trade because they got the better player and they've improved their team much more than the Chicago Blackhawks have. Nick Schmaltz is a valuable piece today. Take away the future. Take away what he projects to be when he's 27, 28. He is a good player today, and he's better than Strome and Perlini today. But that doesn't mean that things can't change down the line. That doesn't mean that Strome and Perlini can't develop into really good players like the ones that they've expected to develop into over the past few years. Hope you guys enjoyed this video for Blast and Gaming, and bye.